Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Barber, author, former IT director for a Fortune 500 company, turned executive coach, and this is the Visibility Factor podcast, where we explore how to raise your visibility and play bigger at work and in life. We'll explore key topics and welcome guests that help you shift your thinking about yourself so you can see new possibilities for your leadership. I'm on a mission to create a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Are you ready to take the next step towards a higher level of visibility for yourself? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. So today's episode is about bringing a team together and integrating them in a way that they're successful. Sometimes this happens when you are the leader taking over a team and bringing a new team underneath you as well. You might be a new leader who's joining an organization and is inheriting a team that you haven't had before. There's all kinds of different scenarios that this can happen. When a new team begins to work together, it can take time to be productive and effective. So if you can do this successfully, they become more productive more quickly. They create a stronger bond together, and they actually are excited about the things that you're going to do together. So it allows you to inspire them and motivate them and talk about your vision for the organization. And it brings them together in a way that they can actually work together in a stronger way. So let me tell you that not everybody takes the time to go through this type of integration that we're talking about here. Many people just take over a team and move forward. They may do a short introduction of themselves and then meet with everybody one-on-one, but there is something much more powerful to create success by bringing the group together and being intentional about it. Now, this kind of change brings up a lot of uncertainty. You can probably think about examples you've had where you moved into a new team or you've got a new boss. So I thought I'd run through a few things that might be happening if you are the team member versus the leader. So for the team members, who is this new leader? Are they a good leader? What's their style of leadership? How are they to work for? Are they strong or are they going to be weak? Will it change what I do? How will this change affect me? That last question is usually the biggest one. And they may not voice it, but they're definitely thinking about it. What is this going to mean for me? And how is it going to change what I do? Now, on the leader's side of things, I need to learn about everyone on the team and what they do. It's overwhelming. How can I bring them together successfully? What can I do and help the team do to make a difference in this group and in the company? What's the vision that I have for this group? Do they have clear roles and responsibilities? I don't really know. Are they organized in the best way? Is there an opportunity to change how things are set up today? Or do I need to leave it the way it is? Are they duplicating work or doing things that they shouldn't be? What is the perception of the group and does it need to change? Now, I would say that second question about duplication and doing things that they shouldn't, you probably would assume that what they're doing is what they're supposed to do. But I can tell you, I've had multiple times where groups have moved between functions and they're still doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And it's just a good opportunity to check. You don't have to do anything right away, but don't make the assumption that everything that they're doing are the things that they should be doing. Sometimes things have to get moved around, and that's okay. So when you get to the situation of becoming a new leader, I usually do this in a session where I get people together and talk about these questions that they might have for me, questions that I might have for them. And here are just a few examples of what this could look like. So from the learning about me, right, as the leader, they might have questions about who am I? What have I done? Where have I been? They might have questions about what I like to do outside of work. Some people like to know you as a person, as well as in work. What do I like to do for hobbies? What's my family like? Where did I grow up? Those types of things. What I need to know from the leader perspective to the team is, what do we need to talk about? What are the things that are happening for you right now? What kind of interaction do we need to have together? How can we work together in the best way? What kind of support do we need to help each other grow and develop as a team? So when the team goes through this kind of integration, it helps them become a better team, acquainted as a group. It gives everyone an opportunity to clarify expectations, share the opportunities that the new team can accomplish together, surface issues or concerns about the transition, ask questions that they may have about the transition. There's always a lot of questions because of the uncertainty and not knowing the leader or not knowing maybe other team members. It brings a lot of anxiousness for people. Discuss the leadership styles and ways of working together. You can share your advice with the leader as they lead the new team, especially if you've been there for a while. Hopefully the leader is open to listening to advice and hearing what's worked or what hasn't worked. Leveraging team members who've been there for a while can be really beneficial. So traditionally, I've put together a short PowerPoint that talks about my background, where I've grown up, my family, where I lived, what I enjoy doing outside of work, trying to create an emotional connection with the team quickly, because there's always something that I'm going to probably say that will connect with someone, right? Like, I like to watch the Chicago Bears, and they probably have an opposing team to mine that they might have. Or I like to drink wine, or I like to do this, or I like to do that. You're trying to create a connection quickly with them, and that they can start to see you as a person and not this person on the org chart that's above them. I also talk about roles I've had, where I've worked, what locations, especially if we're all in the same company and have been there for a while, they'll all start to connect the dots about what I've done in my career. I'll talk about my leadership style, my point of view, my values, my priorities. And then sometimes I'll even let them know about pet peeves I might have, right? Like, if you're not going to make your deadline, I just need you to give me a call. Putting all that out there helps them to get to know me as a person and a leader. And so you want to do both sides of your life if you're willing to share whatever you want to personally. It just helps them connect with you. I then have them do introductions of each other so that they can learn about each other's backgrounds and where they were from and what they've done. And it helps them to get to know each other. Don't make the assumption that they know each other just because they've been in the same company together. I've definitely inherited teams where we were in IT, but we worked in different parts of the company, different parts of the organization, and we just didn't interact together. So it's a good opportunity to bring them together, and just don't assume that they know each other. Just start clean with everybody. I'll even give them a list of questions that they may want to ask me, questions that they can choose from, things that they may want to know about the transition, things that they may want to know about me. And so they can pick and choose from these questions. I leave the room. I let them have the conversation and decide what questions that they have. I'll have them add to the list if they don't like those questions, if they want to ask me additional ones. It's giving them an opportunity to work on a common goal, right? By getting to know me, getting to know each other, it brings them together in a faster way. Now, as the leader, when you want to answer these questions, you have two different ways to do it. The first way is you come back in the room after they've identified the questions that they have for you, and you can answer them if you know them. And if you don't know them, you can defer them and say, I don't have an answer for that yet. I'm still working on it, or I need to learn more information about what you guys are doing for me to be able to answer that question. The caution is that you make sure that you do answer it eventually, right? You can't just never answer it. Because right now you're trying to build trust with people, and you want them to see that your words and actions match. So the sooner that you can get answers to that, or give them a timeline, like by the end of 90 days, I'll have this, put together in a plan, and you can start to really see the vision. I'll be gathering input from you in order to do that. So it gives them some kind of timeline so that they know when you're going to give them an answer. Otherwise, it becomes this, well, I asked this question and I never heard back from her. What do you think she's going to do with that? So it just creates some doubts in people's mind, and we want to eliminate that, especially in the beginning. If you're not totally comfortable with doing that immediately after you've given them the questions and they've identified them, then you can do it the next day or set up a time a week later where you have time to review the questions and be able to answer them. So you just have to know yourself and know if you're good at answering questions on the fly that come at you and being able to think on your feet quickly and answer them. And if that's not who you are, it's totally okay. Just set up the meeting where you do it as a separate meeting, and then you'll have time to understand the questions, maybe follow up with some other questions that you might have about what they asked, and then be able to answer them. It's a really great way to just get in front of them and start to show where you're going as an organization and build trust. The last thing that you might want to do is think about more logistical things. So when are you going to meet with them one-on-one? How often? How often are you going to have staff meetings? These are all questions that seem basic, but they will feel more comfortable if you have given them some insight into what you're thinking. Talk about the current projects that everyone has going on. Maybe you do that as a meeting, or you might want to do that as one-on-ones. So you decide how that works best for you. But I've found it to be really helpful for everyone to get to know about each other's projects, especially if it's not a huge, huge team, then you can share information about what's going on. You can create a template that they follow, and then they'll all come together and hear about each other's projects. Talk about the timing that you're going to put together this plan by. So 90 days is kind of standard, but you might need longer depending on what you are bringing together. But sharing that with them is helpful so that they know it's coming. And obviously, you want to let your manager and other team members in the organization know that it's coming too. And then communicate what your new team looks like. What are they doing? What are their roles and responsibilities? How do people work with them? It's often something that people miss. And when a new team comes together, they know them as the old role that maybe they had, or they used to talk to so-and-so in the group, and that person's not there now. So now they don't know who to talk to. So it's just a good way to cover your bases and send out communication so that people know who to talk to. And then you're not getting the phone calls asking those questions. This is about transparency. Transparency builds trust not only with your group, but with your management and with other people in the organization. So you can say there are things that I can't share with you yet when you're in these conversations, but I will when I can. And bringing that transparency to someone makes them feel more comfortable, because then they don't have to make up the stories of what's going on. She hasn't said anything to me yet. I don't know what the answers are. They'll create their own stories. So your goal is to keep people in a composed, calm place and for you to answer questions as soon as you can. And if you tell them it might be 6 months before you can get them an answer because of what's going on in the organization, they'll understand that, but at least you've given them an answer. So let's transition into the visibility action plan. So how does this type of integration relate to your visibility? If your management is putting you in this role, they see good things that they want to see from you and continue to see. They're seeing your potential. They want to see how you handle this change. So you have to be able to find a way to bring the team together in the best way and make them productive quickly. So think about, are you being strategic in creating the plan that we just talked about? Are you communicating the changes that we just talked about as well? Are you making tough decisions that need to be made? Are you aligning everyone and their work? Doing this well will help your brand tremendously. They'll see that you can navigate change, that you can bring a team together and have them really work productively very quickly. And it allows you to not only show your management, but maybe the clients that you work with, the teams know what's going on. Everybody has had communication given to them that shows you're really owning everything here. It just shows you as a really confident leader that people can admire, come talk to, want to be working in your group. It's really interesting when you are showing this type of leadership. A lot of other team members will want to come work for you because they can see how you're showing up and that you're really adapting to this change in the best way. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, I have done this myself many times, and I find it to be a really effective way to bring a team together quickly. I've also facilitated other leaders and helping them do this. So if that's something you need to do, let me know. But I think it's a really cool way for you to have conversations where the team comes together without you in the room and then with you in the room. It allows them to bond as a team, and then you become a team together. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Visibility Factor podcast. Remember that visibility starts with small steps that are intentional and consistent each day. Be bold, be visible, be the leader you were meant to be. Find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are highlighted in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Visibility Factor podcast.